Okay, it's 7 o'clock and we are on YouTube. Sherry?
Okay, ready to roll?
Good. Yep, go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much, Virginia. Good evening and welcome to the Borough of Clark Summit's Council meeting, February the 2nd, 2022. In attendance, we have Ms. Lopez,
Present.
Ms. Simro.
Present.
Is Chief Yarns on yet?
I'm here.
He's there.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Jenkins.
Here.
Mr. Mitchell,
Here.
Mayor Johnson,
Present.
Solicitor Hayes,
Present.
Mr. Kelly,
Here.
Mr. Shields,
Here.
Junior Council Member,
Here,
and Ms. Key.
Present.
here.
1 second, I'll get the flag for us to salute the flag. Thank you. We'll do 1 moment of meditation, and then we will have our junior council, Ron, lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge of allegiance
Pledge allegiance
to the flag
Flag of the
Of the
United
United States of America.
and
to
to
the
the
republic
republic
for
for
which
which it stands,
One
one
nation.
nation, under God,
Under God.
under God,
indivisible,
Indivisible.
with liberty and
Liberty
justice for all.
Justice for all.
Thank you very much, Ron.
You're welcome, Ms. Carey.
The next item on our agenda is our approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
A motion to,
Thank you, Ronnie. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Josh. On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Fingers have it, 7-0. The next item on our agenda is the approval of our minutes for our December 2nd regular council meeting, for our January 3rd, 2022 reorganization and council meeting, and January 26th, 2022, our council work session. We have a motion to approve these 3 meetings.
You're gonna do those individually or all at once?
We can do them all in one unless there's an objection to that.
I think probably just for clarification, the reorganization should be separate.
It's-
I'll make a motion to approve the reorganization, the minutes for the reorganization meeting.
Thank you, Bob. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Favors have it, 7-0.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from the December 2nd regular council meeting and the January 26th council work session.
Thank you,
I'll
Josh.
second that.
Do it. On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Favors have it, 7-0. Thank you. Public comment and input. Do we have anything to report there, Virginia?
I have nothing other than what's going under correspondence.
Okay. Next item on our agenda is our police report. Do any council members have any questions for our chief or our mayor on our police report?
The
the new cars are here. They're in service. We are still working on it. Everything seems to be going smooth with that. There's no big
Chris, can you
issues
turn
there.
your volume up? You have
I-
very low volume, Chris.
I don't know how to turn it up. I don't know where to.
At the bottom of your screen, you should
Yeah.
see like a little microphone and then slide the bar up. Or turn your.
Uh-oh.
Well,
Can you hear me now?
It's still very
I
weak.
can
still low
hear
when
you,
we
Chris.
can't see you.
Just
Okay,
speak up.
yeah.
I'll do my best. Can you hear me now?
I
it's still-
can hear
Yep.
you.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Chris.
With the new cars are here, they're in service. We can go pretty smooth with that. There's no big issues. They're, everything's going pretty smooth. The body cameras are still on target for March 2nd. I know they delivered our upload server. It's in the office and we're just waiting for March 2nd when we're going to turn them on and start using them. So we're waiting for the vendor. That's the vendor date that they gave us from WatchGuard Motorola Services. And that's, I know Site 2 is coming here to assist us with that. So everything else is going pretty smooth, the winter's kind of rough here. Oh, do you have a question? Did somebody
Go
have a
ahead,
question?
Chris.
Oh, I thought somebody was asking a question. No, everything else is going smooth. We're just waiting for that. I think everybody got my email today. I hope they got a chance to read it.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Jerry, are we going to do anything in executive session concerning the email that Chris sent out to us?
If you feel that that's
Well,
necessary.
I have some questions concerning it. I think it probably would be a 5 or a 10-minute session.
Yeah, we could do
Because
that.
I'm sure I'm not the only one that has questions concerning it,
Oh. Okay. Did you want to have our executive session before we excuse the chief or?
No,
Yeah.
I think we could probably excuse the chief unless somebody else has an objection that maybe they feel they'd like to ask Chris something else. But my concern is strictly with what the issue was on the email.
Okay.
Actually, I do
don't-
have I have a couple quick questions for Chief Yarns regarding the COVID and the part-time employees. If we were about providing some sort of paid leave for that.
Okay, go ahead.
So, Chief Yarns, our work session, we kind of discussed, I guess one of the part-time police officers is requesting paid leave because they were concerned that they may have COVID or they tested positive for COVID. And my understanding is, I guess, some of the other local police departments are providing paid leave to part-time employees. I was looking at our part-time employees and it looks like the part-time ones, they don't receive any benefits, right? They don't get any vacation or time off or sick or anything like that.
I think this year they're supposed to get vacation somehow. I'm not sure how it works in the contract, but no, they don't. Other than that, they don't get any time off. I know that, I did call around, like you stated, to the different chiefs because I was confused on the act that the governor signed regarding payments for officers. I'm getting mixed decisions on that. I spoke to I got Chief Salerno from Blakely. He insists that it's covered under the act. I spoke to Chief Trentley. He didn't really look at the act, but his borough is paying. South Abington pays. They all seem to be paying. I didn't know that. We haven't had any. We've been fortunate in our department. We really haven't had anybody with COVID that we had any COVID issues this whole year. We got lucky. I don't know what to tell you, but and it was just the one part-timer that took, I think it was 16 hours total that he missed in the shifts, and he was claiming that other departments were doing that. I didn't know that until I looked into it, and that's I presented that to council for the decision. I spoke to the solicitor, Ms. Hayes, about that as well.
And we rely pretty heavily on the part-timers. I was looking at there's one here, it looks like he put in about 160 hours last month or something like that.
Yeah, with Officer Kaiser, I believe it was, yeah, yep.
Right.
I think with the officer, Officer Kaiser, we get put 160 hours in, yep. He's doing well. He's our newest officer, one of our newest officers. He's doing a phenomenal job, and he's always available, which is good. This is his only job, which is helpful for me because, when we ran into some staffing issues, it's nothing serious, but just some things, he jumped up to the plate, so it's been good.
That's great. And he's not getting any benefits at this time though, right? He's just part-time.
No, he's just part-time. He's been here since April, I believe, with us.
Is the part-timers, are they tough to keep and find and stuff like that, or?
Yeah, that's it's not a statewide problem, it's a nationwide problem. Especially with part-timers, there's a demand for full-timers as well in the country, and that's what's happening with a lot of departments are losing their part-timers, getting hired full-time. There's a couple of municipalities out there, and Blakely's one of them that went completely full-time. They don't have any part-timers anymore. And
Wow.
now Archibald's going to be doing that as well, as what I was told by Chief Trentley. I don't know how they afford it. I have no idea, but that's what they're doing. I don't understand it. I know that's what a lot of departments are starting to do, because the part-timers, it costs about $6,000-7,000 to train a part-timer here and equip them and get them all up and running. And then after, if they're only here 6 months or a year or even a year and a half, they're out the door, and we have to start all over again with another part-time.
Right.
So that's kind of where we're at. And it is tough to keep them. I'm not going to deny it. I mean,
Bob, just to qualify though, we did put into the contract with the latest negotiations with the police, the vacation pay for part-timers based on the average hours that they worked the year before. So that is implemented. Our part-timers that worked last year do have some available hours to them.
Okay.
that quick. I don't know how that works, Virginia. I know this is new for this year. It started last year contract, and it wasn't really effective until 2022. So I don't know how that. I know you were going to do some math on that and figure that out.
I have
Chief
the
Yarns, do you
math.
think-
I put it on. You can go over the hours I can go over the hours with you if you want.
Yeah, I haven't dug into that too deep, but I probably should.
If I
Chief
if I
Yarns,
could interject here, Bob, did the personnel committee have any kind of a meeting concerning this?
Yeah, I think we spoke a little bit about it briefly.
Have you come to any conclusion through the personnel committee to come back to council to give us a little guidance?
Well, actually, I don't know if we've come to the decision. I think there was hope we maybe wanted to discuss it tonight if we could.
Well,
Well, we can do that in executive session also if you want. I think that's something that can be covered in executive.
Mary Claire, I don't know what the research on that was with regarding the act that the governor signed, if it applies to part-timers. I was really confused on it. And like I said, some departments insist that they have to, because it's that legally they have to. I'm confused on it. I don't if that's true or not.
Or I think the bigger issue, Chief, is not necessarily their status as full or part-time. I think the issue is that was intended to cover during our time where we were in a state of emergency, which we no longer are. So at the moment, I don't believe there's anything that specifically covers this now that we're out of that state of emergency. After our work session last week, I did have the opportunity to speak to a couple of the chiefs. You referenced Chief Trentley, and I spoke to Chief Garrity just to get ideas for what their municipalities have done. And really, it seems to be just in their decision as to how best handle their employees rather than relying on that act. Because again, I don't know that it has any application here now that we're no longer in a state of emergency.
Yeah, I can only say this, trying to advocate for them a little bit here, is that we haven't had anybody abuse it, and it hasn't been a big problem. We've only had the one officer that was 16 hours. Maybe the council could come up with some sort of something where there's some rules to it, policy to it, that it's only good for so many days or so many hours and or something like that. And they have to be a positive COVID test and they have to get tested again to make sure that they're not positive anymore and they come back to work,
Right.
But it was one officer who actually got pretty sick. He was off for a little while. He missed 2 shifts, and it's only for scheduled shifts. It wasn't for the whole time. Yeah, he was off for longer, but he was only scheduled for 16 hours.
Right.
So he was off for like almost 3 weeks, almost a month, something like that, from his other place that he works. But here he only missed those hours. I believe that I'm correct in saying that.
Chief Yarns, how much are the shifts? Are they 12 or 16 hours?
They're 12-hour shifts.
Oh,
but
no,
he
they're not
gets sick
16.
Yeah, no, they're 12, but he only has the 16 hours that he worked 2. He was splitting a shift with somebody else, and he was working 8-hour shifts. He's working 11 to 7 at night for us. 2 shifts is what he did.
Okay.
And he was, and Mike, one of the Officer Freslini was working the 4 hours and the first 4 hours for him, because it was other job and other things going on in his life. He was able to cover 11 to 7 for us, and those are the shifts he missed. And he works for us probably about 24 hours a pay period, and those hours are important to him financially. That's where he's at. He's in a kind of a tough spot. Honestly, that's why he was asking.
So you think like would be 24 hours or 36 hours? Would that be, you think, adequate time for a policy if we did a maximum amount?
For policy, okay, because just to clarify, his hours that he was asking for is only 16, because he only missed 2 8-hour shifts. But I would say our schedule is done about a month to a month and a half ahead of time. So, for example, our February schedule is posted until February 28th. On February 15th, we're going to post our March schedule. So there'll be, at that point, be like a month and a half of February, half of March. So my thought on it was, one thing we could do is only for the shifts they were scheduled for.
Right.
And they wouldn't be scheduled that far ahead. You know what I mean? That's my thought.
Do you have any, like, do you think a max is, did you want to have like a maximum amount of hours that somebody could get paid for? Or do you think it's better to leave it open?
I would say, for the hours that they missed, or scheduled hours they missed, because we're not talking like, if he's still sick in April, he wouldn't be getting paid because he wasn't scheduled for those days. He was only scheduled. That's my thought.
Yeah, that's a good thought too.
Bob, if I could interject, just to provide information as to what one of our neighboring municipalities is doing. South Abington uses 5 days. And the reason for that is that the CDC currently requires you to isolate for 5 days after a positive test. So any shifts that are scheduled, be it part-time or full-time, within 5 days after that positive test, an officer is paid for. But that's where they got that number from, was because after the positive test, as we know, that's the current guideline by the CDC is that you have to isolate for 5 days. So again, only if they were scheduled for 2, they're paid for 2. If they were scheduled all 5, they're paid for 5, but that's where they max out. So just to make you aware of that is a policy that I know they've been.
Along
makes sense.
along
That's
these
a good way
same
of looking
lines,
at it.
along these same lines, I would be amenable to doing this with a cap of 5 days, because we're not only talking about the police department, we're also talking about one of our office workers, as well as one of our employees from the DPW. So I think, in all fairness to all work, if we were to give it a cap at 5 days, regardless of how their shift goes, 5 days is 5 days.
Right.
And have it come to a conclusion or a finality at the end of December of 2022, so that we know that there's a stop dead date, and we're not going to be going into this thing forever and a day.
It makes sense.
Sure.
I would make that a motion then.
So the only question that I have, and I agree actually, Dave, with what you stated, that I think doing this for the calendar year, doing it for a max of 5 days, that all makes sense. The question that I have is, and extending it to all of our employees makes sense to me as well. The question that I have is, we require proof of a positive test?
I
Do we,
I would think.
okay.
I'm not
because-
sure I don't know if that's the best thing on that, because I don't know if we want to be
Is that a
involved into
HIP, is that
people's
a HIPAA
medical.
violation to ask?
Yeah.
Well, but this is the thing. It's a slippery slope. If we say,
Yep.
I mean, if we're trying to cover someone who's COVID positive, do they have to have a test to show that they're positive? Can they be presumptive positive? Can they? It's
That was
just,
what I was gonna bring up too.
Mhm.
I don't know.
My feeling is we should do 5 days, no questions asked. I think if you start getting into the HIPAA, potential HIPAA violations, that can open up litigation and things like that. And I don't, as Chief Yarn said, we've only had one person ask for this over the last close to 2 years. So I don't think our employees are going to abuse it, and I think they'll appreciate the respect we're giving them.
I haven't had anybody really get sick that needed to take time off. I got lucky. I guess some places were much worse shape. So that's, I don't know how that happened.
We need to consider in this motion if it's retroactive for the 3 employees that had it last year,
I think,
or is it only going forward?
I am a little concerned about the no questions asked policy. I mean, what if we required a doctor's note, for example? The doctor, I mean, that's what you would do if you went to, if for a child in school, they don't require a test, they require a doctor's note. I just want to have some guardrails.
I think one of the things is that a lot of times with COVID, my experience, when they get the mild symptoms, they don't even go to a doctor. They just get tested at a pharmacy. And unless they need to go, but the lot of the doctor's office, including my doctor's office, but I didn't get COVID, but he doesn't want you in there. He wants you, unless you are sick and you need to see him, you call him. But so that may be a problem getting a doctor's excuse, but maybe some sort of something from a pharmacy or something, or some sort of documentation that way. I'm not sure how, but
I just would assume if you go to a pharmacy or you have your test, you get a readout on that.
right.
And then this would qualify you then for your time off from work.
Well, but
Well,
we're
I guess
talking
Bob
again
isn't
about
saying
proof
they
of a
won't
test.
have the readout. The question is, are we allowed to ask for it?
Well, how about a legal authority from our solicitor on this? Instead of all of us trying to second guess, why don't we get an official readout from our solicitor on what our grounds are and how far is the slippery slope going to go?
Or, I mean, I personally think to go the 5 days again, I think that this all makes sense in terms of what should be documented. The only question would be, oftentimes people will use home tests, and that's how they're diagnosed if they have symptoms. So it's really a question of whether or not you want to rely on someone's word. I think the fact that they're already stating that they're going to be out due to COVID, I don't see an issue with requiring verification that they in fact have COVID, because that issue is already out there. It's not some vague medical issue. So I don't think it would be a problem to require that. I guess if someone does test at home, then they could go to one of the facilities that offer either rapid or PCR tests, and they do give you a printout stating that you're in fact positive. I don't see an issue with that.
Okay. And we're accepting then any positive, whether it be a PCR or an at-home test, correct?
Well, an at-home test, you wouldn't have that sort of same proof. You would have to go to somewhere, be it a pharmacy, a doctor, a clinic.
Have it confirmed.
Right.
Right.
My only concern is when you have part-time people who, I mean, it's hard to find good part-time employees, and we're very blessed to have good ones right now. If they need the money, that's why they're working. So, if they're not feeling well and they don't have their tests yet, or they haven't got their results yet, they may come to work just because they need the hours. And at the same time, they could expose other people to.
That was one of the things that I was told, that some of the people would just, you're onto something there, because that's one of the things that came to my attention from other chiefs, was that they were coming to work sick because they needed the money. Because sometimes some of these guys don't have full-time jobs. Some of them do. Some of them do have full-time jobs, need the money with their part-time jobs. But one of our neighboring department, speaking to the chief there, he told me that he's ordered them not to come to work, and that's one reason why he paid them. because he didn't want the sick person around the other healthy officers, you know. So that's where it's at with that, you know.
Kind of agree with Josh. I don't think that we're too far out of line to ask for some kind of proof. And like Mary Claire said, we do have that qualificator that, you know, if we feel someone needs to show something, I don't think it's going too far out. Also along these lines, I would make it retroactive to last year for the other employees that were involved in the time that they missed due to the COVID, and make it fair and equal. And then going forth, we have a drop dead date of 12/31 of 2022, and we can always revisit this next year if it's an ongoing saga.
Could I add something? I was wondering, any funds that are due and owing to these folks? And by the way, Mary Claire's point too, of like, if a person is off 2 days, it's not a blanket, like, oh, we're gonna give you 5 days. But in addition to that,
Only the days incurred, Harry.
okay, oh, fine.
Up to 5 days.
5 is the maximum, correct?
Yes.
Now, can we use from the Recovery Act those funds to pay for this?
I don't know.
Isn't that under some of the things,
We can,
Okay,
pardon me?
yeah.
We can.
Now, it's just to clarify, it's not that we can't find other excuses to use that money too. So it's not like we have to, if we didn't use it for this, it would just be lost. But yes, it is applicable there.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
That certainly helps.
I was told that by the other chiefs who are using that funds for that.
Right.
Well, it seems the rules for the fund and the usage of the money from the fund, they change every other week. So we need to be careful, because I know when Kevin was our solicitor, he said there were limitations, and now I know from the reports in the news systems that the results of everything going on have changed, and now we can use these monies for other things that weren't considered before. So
Well,
I mean, they change every other week.
Again, Dave, we have plenty of things, we can spend the money without using it for this.
Oh, no doubt.
Therefore, and this amount is not going to be a significant amount, so it's not going to put a
Correct.
big dent in our budget.
Yeah,
So I
correct.
wouldn't necessarily argue, if we were falling short at the end of the year, then we could apply it if it qualifies. But if we have other things to spend it on, we do that too.
Well,
And David,
I have
just
I
to
have a
clarify,
motion on the, I have a
This is-
motion on the floor. We just need a second to follow through, and then if anybody has more questions, we can go from there.
a
So
question on
is
the
the
motion though. This is just for part-time employees though, right? Not full-time employees.
That's correct, Bob.
Okay.
Right.
so is the official motion, Dave, that we'll do it for part-time employees up to 5 days, and they have to provide a positive test result?
Right.
Yes.
Can I ask a question on that point, though? Are the other departments making that distinction, or because is it fair to say to a full timer that they have to drain their sick hours when, you know, a part timer doesn't because they don't have them? Is that fair?
And speaking to Chief
That's a good
Garrity, I
point.
can tell you that they don't distinguish between the two. It's any officer is entitled to whatever shifts they were scheduled for the 5 days following their positive test. And then beyond that, if they have sick time and they want to use it, then they can, but they don't have to use it for whatever of those 5 days they're scheduled for, be it 1 or 5.
If you're going retroactive and you're including full timers, though, it's going to make a difference.
I would
So are
just
we
limit
just-
to part-timers. I think the part-timers are the ones who need it the most, and
Right.
we got to take care of, if we lose our part-timers, we got a problem, and it's going to be tough to find replacements. It's a hard
Our
market to find good
police earn
employees.
112 hours of sick every year, and our DPW get 102 hours of sick every year. So that equates to like 2 weeks or more, 2 to 3 weeks. So 3 weeks.
Right.
We're not, I think that they can spare a couple hours.
I would think also that in the future, if we have full-time employees that feel that they would like to come before council with a request to be reimbursed on time usage, we could take each case individually.
So this will only be then for part-time.
Correct.
Okay,
This would be our vote, would be for our part-timers.
then I'll second Dave's motion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions on this issue?
Yes, I do have another one. Excuse me, Jerry.
Sure.
Mary Claire, would this cause a conflict with the full-time employees that are unionized? In the sense of a grievance or something?
Again, it's not a situation where they're not going to have any time to use. So I don't know that I would anticipate that because they do have sick time. They have the benefit of
Right.
that, which these employees don't, which is the reason for this accommodation. I mean, I can't say for sure that someone wouldn't try to grieve it, but we know that none of our officers, according to the chief, have actually been out due to COVID. So it's certainly not something that's going to come up retroactive, or that anybody in the department has had to use their time now and then would have an issue with this officer getting paid for those 2 days.
And also along that same line, Harry, we've also included the caveat that if the full-time employees did have an issue, that we would look at it case by case on an individual situation. So
And-
there really shouldn't be any kind of a, you know, a grievance or a complaint, because we're willing to look at the information that they may have if they feel that they were, you know, unjustly wronged.
And also, the reason for this conversation to begin with is the fact that our part-timers do not have health care. Our full-timers do. So this is what drives the wedge between the two particular groups. And since our part-timers do not have health care, this is the reason for us stepping up to the plate if they do get COVID, for us to cover them. So I think that's being a very generous thing on our part, making sure we take care of our part-time employees, because they do an excellent job for the borough.
Can someone read back what the motion is that's been made and seconded?
Sure.
Yes.
Let me take my notes and see if I'm correct. So it's going to be only for this calendar year and retroactive. It's up to 5 calendar days. PCR tests must be provided, and full-timers will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis. I was planning on documenting this for Mary Claire to approve to make sure that we had all the terms correct. So that's what I have in my notes so far.
Can I suggest that it be an either a test result or a doctor's note? Because I know when I tested positive on a home test, I contacted my doctor and said, should I go get a PCR? And he said, no, you have symptoms, you have a home test, you're positive. He easily would have given me a note if I needed one. So I think that is a reasonable alternative.
I have no problem with that.
That's
Adding
fine.
that,
That's a
I
good
have no
idea.
problem with that.
either or is fine.
Now, real quick, for the retroactive cases, some of these guys. might
Can't hear
not
you,
have-
Chris.
I said, for the
Can't hear you.
retroactive- Can you hear me now?
Barely.
Can you
Yeah.
hear me?
Mhm.
The retroactive cases, can we, I don't know, some of these guys might not, I don't know if they'll have
That's fair.
their test available. I don't know if they destroyed it.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of record keeping they have. And not so much for my officer, because it wasn't too long ago, but some of these ones from last year that Virginia was alluding to. I don't know if these guys have that.
I think it would be fair to waive that requirement for the retroactive ones.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
so too.
I do too.
I'm
I
okay
do
with that.
too.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Okay, just moving forward is where the direction we're going to go with this.
We have a motion and a second.
Okay. Do we have any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
I
All opposed? Favors have it 7-0. Thank you, Chief. And we'll certainly, we're going to we did the vote on it, so you can let your part-timer know that we are going to take care of that.
Okay. I guess, I don't know if, the next thing that would be, you guys discussed, I don't know if you have any questions for me, is the selling of the 2 cars, the older cars. I don't know if you need me around for that or not.
No, I think we've already made a decision at our work. We're going to vote on it tonight to sell the 2 vehicles, so.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's-
I provided estimates, Kelly Blue Book values on them, so I don't know what more you could tell us.
Okay.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, and I just wanted to let council know that yesterday we had the chief pick the winning ticket for our basket of cheer. And it was Janine Port was our winner. So,
Oh,
nice.
and from what I understand, Chief, she did get back to the department and was going to pick up the basket of cheer.
She said she was gonna do it sometime today.
Okay.
As they left at 3 o'clock, it was still there, but I'm sure she will.
Oh, okay. As long as she got back to you, that was good. But I also wanted to thank you again for all the good help we had from our police department for the Ice Festival. They were on top of everything for us and always there lending helping hands wherever needed. So we want to tip our hats to them again. Job well done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. You can take that good report back to them. Thank you. Okay. Does anybody have any questions for our mayor or our chief before we excuse them? Okay, well, we'll let the mayor
Thanks,
excuse
Chief.
our chief, and thank you for a good report.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
job, Dave.
Hi, Chris.
Thanks, chief.
Thank you, Connie.
Okay, and then anybody is available for tomorrow at 11 o'clock for our pictures with our 2 new police cars. So the time is 11, and if you're available, we'd love to have you there. Thank you. Okay, next item on our agenda is our bids and quotes. We don't have any, right, Virginia?
None.
Thank you. The next is our the borough's treasurer report. Does anybody have any questions on our treasurer's report? Do we have a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
make a motion, we
Motion.
pay the bills.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ron. On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Favors have it 7-0. Next item on our agenda is our vendor payments to be ratified. Do we have a motion to pay the bills?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Kathleen. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ron. On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Favors have it 7-0. Under old business, we have our sewer report for January. Do we have does anybody have any questions for our Jen, who handles all our sewer billing for us? Do we have a
See, we're
motion?
up around 100. I see we're up around 170 delinquent notices. Is that unusual for this time of the year?
No,
Or-
not at all. No,
Not at all?
no, not at all.
Okay.
Yep, and now it's down, I think 110 either made their payment or are on a payment arrangement. So a
Okay.
lot of times people need that second posting to tell them it's coming
Yeah.
up, so,
Oh, okay. All right.
Oh,
Okay. Thank
yeah.
you, Jen.
yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the sewer report?
I'll
Make a motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second it. Right there with you,
Bob
David.
Put Bob first and me second.
All right.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? Favors have it 7-0. And now we have our police reorganization. Josh Mitchell, this is your opportunity to
Sure.
enlighten council.
Yeah, there's a number of developments to make everybody aware of, and the chief is aware of all these things, I might add. I spoke to him earlier today, and he and I speak frequently as things are happening. Actually, I'll start with perhaps not some good news on the topic, which is that Waverly, at their meeting on Monday, decided not to approve the letter of intent and to basically back out of the study. So I spoke to the chair of their board of supervisors. He called me right after the meeting. He told me they'd heard from some residents that they didn't want to do it, and the other two supervisors were of the opinion that they would not want to move into a regionalized force, and so they didn't want to bother with the study. So that's what they want to do, and that is what it is. On the flip side of things, we did submit our letter of intent, as did South Abington Township, Newton Township, and Ransom Township. So the four of us have already received from DCED the survey, which Virginia has. It asks for quite a lot of information. And so I expect that we're working on that. Clark's Green, I have had contact with Clark's Green, have invited them to participate. They have a work session tonight where I know it's on their agenda. They have a meeting their regular meeting where they do businesses in 2 weeks, and I expect that they will be taking it up then. I won't make a prediction as to whether or not they will participate, but they have been invited. Given that Waverly has backed away, I did as well reach out to Glenburn Township to invite them to participate. They are currently serviced by Waverly, and so that option will continue to exist for them. But the conversation that I had with the chairman of their board of supervisors was, why not participate so that you know what your two options look like when the time comes. So we'll see what they do. I believe their meeting is in 3 weeks. He told me, but I think it's his intention to bring it up on the agenda and see if they want to participate as well. So that is where things stand. Virginia, you have the survey. Is Chris working with you on that to submit that
I
information?
don't believe I've received it yet. I was going to discuss that with you tomorrow.
Bless.
Bless you.
Thank you.
I will
Thank
make
you.
sure you have it. I thought I forwarded it to you when it came to me, but I will send it again.
Okay, I apologize if you did. I don't remember seeing it, but yeah, if you send it to me tomorrow.
Okay, I'm going to forward it to you right now.
Okay.
If I can make a comment here, I'm kind of happy to hear that Waverly Township is backed out of it. However, I'm not really happy to hear that both Newton and Ransom Townships have jumped in. I felt all along that this should have been strictly between Clark Summit Borough and South Abington Township, that we try to get this organized. And then if after a few years of experimentation, everything worked out well or seemed to be working out well, then we could farm our way into the surrounding municipalities, because this is going to be, and there are a lot of people, I'm sure maybe even some people that sit on our borough council, who aren't going to realize that this is going to be a pretty decent expenditure for everybody to do if we're going to do regionalization. And for these surrounding municipalities, I know Clark's Green will be very much surprised, as well as Glenburn Township and Waverly and Newton and Ransom, because Newton Township is getting away for a pittance, as is Clark's Green Borough, for what police protection should really be charging. And when push comes to shove, I think there's going to be a lot of people who are going to have their eyes opened up a lot wider than what they are right now, because of the deals that they're getting from the host municipalities such as ourselves, as well as South Abington Township, when South Abington is providing coverage for these townships. I really feel that it should have been just the two municipalities, South Abington and Clark Summit, to get it off the ground, but it didn't fall into place that way. And I'm really disappointed that Newton and Ransom Township have also jumped in on this too. I think with Waverly backing out of it, I think it would have been better off to just go ahead with Clark Summit and South Abington, but it is.
I will disagree with you, Dave, because I think
Okay.
when we talk about policing our community, those communities are covered by our police forces. Even just for ourselves, when you look at what our budget is and what the composition of our police force, that includes policing Clark's Green. And so if we're really going to look at what does it cost and how best can we police our community, then those additional municipalities that are policed need to be included in that. I think, and to work all of the numbers out to see, what should everyone really be paying, all of those variables need to be considered. So now at the end of the day, if none of those municipalities participated and it was just us and South Abington, that could all be figured out later on. But I think from my perspective, it's best to really think about, how do we police all of these communities that right now are being policed by someone, and what does that look like in a regionalized way? And that's really the intent of the study. So like I said, if Clark's Green and Glenburn, from Clark's Green's standpoint, I don't know why they would not want to participate, because they would be impacted by what happens. So why would, if I were on their council, I would certainly want to participate. Glenburn doesn't have to be impacted because they still have Waverly and that option there. So it's really up to them. But I think and Newton and Ransom, I might add, I don't know if everyone is aware of this, but Newton, their contract with South Abington was coming to an end at the end of last year, and they were reaching out repeatedly to Chief Yarns asking about our interest in their business, because South Abington greatly increased the cost of the services that they provide to them. So this is a prescient issue for municipalities like that as well, because they're trying to make sure that their residents have the services that they think they need, and that it is at a price point that they can plan and budget for. So at the end of the day, I think including all those municipalities that will likely be impacted by it makes good sense. But we'll see what happens as this continues on.
Actually, I just want to say, I agree with you, Josh, on that. And I think you're right that, including the municipalities that don't have police departments is important, because, at the end of the day, if there is a big bill, it'll be a lot easier to swallow if they're part of it and they're seeing what's happening. The one thing I would actually recommend is maybe even including the police unions from Clark Summit and South Abington in the process too, because at the end of the day, I think they're going to have a say on how this works. So maybe we want to, if we include them along with the municipalities that don't have their own police departments.
And I will say, I have a lot of questions about, where in the process do we include them? I mean, I've spoken to our magistrate, Mr. Keeler, on this topic. He's very supportive of it. I heard from Representative Kozrowski's office. She's very in favor of it. And I think folks like that will also want to, perhaps at least be aware of what's going on. And I think there's probably a point at which there becomes involvement there. There's actually a number of grant programs that are available for application right now, specifically around funding to support these kinds of efforts. We're not in a position where it makes sense for us to apply for that, but a year from now, we probably will be. Some of the legal fees, for example, that may be associated with trying to get this up and running and get an intermunicipal agreement in place. Those are the kinds of things where I think if we have the support of our representatives and our state representatives, then that can help us perhaps get some funding to bridge that gap from getting us through this and into an actual regionalized force. So there's lots of people that are aware of what's going on and voicing their support. I think at what point do we engage them in the process is an open question.
As a FYI, Dave, our contract with the police department, with the police union specifies that they support a study of regionalization.
Okay.
So they've been thinking about that. That was in place before I even started with the borough.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay, does anybody have any other questions for Josh on the reorganization?
To be
Okay.
continued.
Thank you. I know, Josh, you've been putting an awful lot of midnight hours on this and doing a great job. And that having you at the helm of the ship, we feel we have all the confidence in the world, and we'll just keep making progress as we go along. Once we sit down with Harrisburg and so on, that's what's going to give us all the numbers and everything else we need. But you've done a lot of footwork on this, and thank you for that.
Keep you apprised.
Okay. Under new business, we have resolution 2022-02, the liquor license for the Summit City Mart.
I'll make that a motion that we accept that
Okay.
resolution.
Thank you, Dave. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Kathleen. On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Favors have it 7-0. The next item is the 502 Waverly Avenue, the EDUs. Virginia, if you would like to enlighten council on the.
Yeah, just a reminder that this is the DeWild property
Correct.
on Waverly. It was originally one family estate.
Right.
They at one point when it was sold, an owner converted it to 4 apartments. We now
Right.
have a family that moved in there and moved it back into a single family home. They're asking to be adjusted from 4 EDUs to 1. And they'd appreciate it if we'd consider going retroactive to last fall when they moved in.
Well,
This is the one that Jen went to see, right, and confirmed it
Yes.
is a single family home.
Yep.
Yes.
but do we go back to when they moved in? Is that
Jerry.
when you went there and looked at it, Jen, or?
No, okay, so they paid major liens. There were a bunch of liens that were on it when they purchased the home, and there was probably $20,000 of liens because during all that time it was being billed for a 4 EDU place
Okay.
and nobody lived there.
Okay.
They from when they moved in, after all the liens were paid, they were still being charged the 4. So then 4 EDUs per quarter. So they got the bill and it's, I don't know, it was a lot. And so that's
Yeah.
when this whole thing happened. He called me, and just personally, I think the right thing to do is start them. I can look back at when they moved in. I can say that's on the assessor's list. So I can find out the month or the day or whatever they moved in. It might have been November or so, something like that. But I don't think we're losing out on anything because we've charged them for the 4 EDUs for years. And we did
Yeah.
receive all of that money plus the legal fees and everything for it. So now I think since
Okay.
they've moved in, I personally think the right thing is just to bill them for the 1 unit since they moved in. And I really don't think they were aware of the situation.
And the
So
worst
we
case
wouldn't have to give them
scenario
any
is
money back,
October.
or?
No money back, because after they paid the liens, it was all paid. And then they still got billed the 4 EDUs. So this way, if I could bring that back down to just 1 EDU, they'll be a couple months behind, but they don't care. They would take care of that.
And that'd be October of 2020 or 2021 is when they moved in.
That's what I need to check. I feel like it was around November. I will double check with you. I don't have that.
I would
October's
like
the
to,
worst case scenario.
Mhm.
I would like to make a motion that, on the advice of our, code enforcement officer, effective, January 1, January 1 of 2022, that we, reduce this down to, 1 EDU from 4 EDUs.
But Dave, I think if I may, they moved in
Okay.
before 2022. I
Right.
think I,
Okay.
it should be when they,
But
when
if
the
it's a-
lien was paid.
If it's a question of up in the air on the exact time frame for us, I think if we make it effective or retroactive, January 1st, I think they should be happy.
That
That's-
means they're gonna be charged 4 units for probably November and December. So
Yeah.
4 times 52 every month. It's a
But-
lot.
Plus, they paid all those back liens that were
did.
against the property and so on.
All
So,
the liens were
To
paid
be
and this,
honest, I think from the time they moved.
from the
in,
time they move in, which I
That-
have that, it's on the assessor's office. I feel like it was November. I could be wrong. But
Okay,
the-
whatever
when
that
they-
date would be.
when they officially purchased the property, from then on, that's just what I think. I think that's fair.
I think so.
Okay, I'll,
too.
I'll,
I agree.
I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So do we have a motion then to approve for the EDUs to be back to the date that they actually moved in?
Or is it the date they purchased the property? Is
The
that?
purchase the property as opposed to
pur-
quote unquote moving
right.
in, but yes, I agree.
Okay. Do we have a motion for that then?
I'll make a motion that we reduce to 1 EDU retroactive to the date of closing.
Thank
Okay.
you, Josh. Do we have a second?
I'll
I'll
second.
second.
Thank you. On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Favors have it, 7-0. And our next issue is our police vehicles. We discussed this at our work session last week. And it was our decision to sell both vehicles.
I'll make a
Which,
motion that we give the borough manager the authority to put them on the borough for sale website.
I would
Uh,
appreciate putting them on municipal. That's where we've been really
Right.
fortunate with
Okay.
our other vehicles. I think that that's
Right.
going to be the best way to go.
Virginia,
Okay,
should we have
that's
a
fine.
minimum bid or anything like that? Or you just sell it as best offer you can get? That's good enough.
Fair market value I'd like to see out of it, whatever that might be.
Well, I have Blue Book in your packet. Between the two of them, we should get at least 10,000. It looks like 6 and 4 for the two of them. But that's not considering the fact that they're police cars, so I don't know how that affects the price,
Sure.
whether that actually increases it or decreases it. On municipal, we will be targeting police departments.
Do-
Right.
Do
Is
you
there like
want
a
minimum
bid that like if they don't hit, if someone doesn't bid up to an amount like 5,000 or 7,000, that the sale, they're not going to be sold, or is it that it's sold no matter what after
Oh,
a
we have
certain amount of time?
We have the right to
withdraw it?
reject any and all bids if we
Okay.
don't like them.
That
And that's put in
sounds
the,
good.
that's put in the bid too, isn't it, Virginia?
Yeah, the bid, I would be advertising this to be voted on, the bid to be accepted at our March meeting.
Oh, okay. Oh, then that's perfect then. Sorry about
Okay,
Good. No,
no
that's
problem.
fine.
I think
do we
Jerry
have a-
should buy it.
that.
I don't
Drive it
have
around.
any more room in my garage. Do we have a motion then to?
We
sell
have a
the-
motion. Do we have a second?
Oh, excuse me, a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ronnie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Favors have it, 7-0. Next item on our agenda is our solicitor's report.
So one item for tonight is, as noted, the Civil Service Commission. I've been talking to the chief quite a bit about our need to update our written procedures. I know that he would like to give a test in the foreseeable future. I know ideally he would like to have a list of individuals so that if we have any officers leave our department, that he has that at his disposal. So we would be able to hire
Exactly.
people quickly. Our goal is to iron that out this month. So I'm hoping that I could bring this to you at our next work session. That would be our ideal. And then see if we'd be able to vote on that in March. Again, so that
Okay.
way within the next month or so, he would be in a position to give a test and then ideally have some backup.
Okay.
And I don't have
I think
anything
that
else.
sounds fine. I know that they're in dire need, so I think that's moving in a good direction with that. And I think we would definitely be in a position to move forward in our March meeting. Okay, so we won't have to vote on that tonight, Virginia, just
No,
we'll let that,
that was just an update.
okay. And does anybody have any questions for our solicitor? Other than, is our ex-solicitor behaving himself?
I hope so. You could see I'm in my peaceful office right now, so I hope he's holding
He's
down.
holding down the
fort
fort right
elsewhere.
now for you?
That's the goal. We'll see when I get home.
Well, Mary Claire, you're doing a fine job, and we're really, really grateful having you on board with us.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
And you're the first female solicitor Clark Summit has ever had, so we're very proud of that too.
Oh, I
Thank you.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure. Under correspondence, we have the AAJRB request.
If I might just give some context on this, I'm not closely involved with this Verizon tower situation, but I've been aware of it for a number of months. So Verizon approached the park. If you've been in the park and you are a Verizon customer, you know that the service is awful. And so they know, they're aware that that area is a dead spot, and so they approached the park. They identified a location which is basically unusable for anything. It's back behind the community garden. And before they go down the road of, reviewing an agreement and getting solicitors involved and doing a lot more work, they just want to ensure that none of the municipal partners have major questions or objections to pursuing before the work is put in.
Okay.
Right, we're not committing to anything tonight other than allowing them to get a final proposal to put out.
Exactly. That sounds, and I imagine, Josh, they will all be on the same page if it would be helpful to the park itself,
I mean, this would be the community center it's in a better position now than it's been. It was in the red, I think, last year. I think it should be in the black this year because there is some revenue now coming from the YMCA, whose programs there in the evenings. But this would certainly put the community center on very good, solid footing, and the park in general on good, solid footing, and give some ability to do some capital improvements as well.
Good. Okay.
Gosh, my only question along this line is there any talk at any remuneration or reduction in requests of money coming from the supporting communities with the influx of 20 grand a year for X amount of years at all?
If you all notice, the third paragraph of the letter that came from them specifically says the board expects the annual income from the wireless lease would be dedicated to funding capital improvements at the park.
So the short answer is no, Dave. There's been no such discussion, and I would not anticipate that. It's I mean, to be honest, what our residents get in Hillside Park relative to what we put into it is exceptional. It's a great value.
Exactly.
That ice skating is huge right now.
I don't have any question about that. I just have concerns that with our community not increasing, rather staying as it is or getting stagnant, that the residents who are here, a lot of them are more or less, probably a good percentage of them are on fixed incomes. And to see, X amount of dollars go out and then all of a sudden an influx, I didn't know if there was a talk or a thought of maybe lowering some of the requests for some of the communities who are contributing to help their own residents with the tax burden.
I wouldn't expect so. And I mean, I think what we contribute to the AHRB annually is maybe $18,000, Virginia. So it's relative to our budget, it's a very, very small line item.
Right. And
Sure.
the big bonus we get from the park is really, appreciated by every resident in Clark Summit. So I think that's moving in a good direction. So.
Okay.
Okay.
So I can tell
you.
them to continue looking into it and get back to us.
Okay, sounds
Okay.
great. Thank you. Next item under our correspondence is from a realtor about our Lewis Lane Park. And I think this is definitely a new issue because when the borough acquired this, it was supposed to be used for recreation. And we cannot now turn around and sell it for residents. We have a lot of people that use the park, and I think the residents would be disappointed if we turned around and did that. So I think the answer on that would definitely be apologetically no,
Is there a
Actually-
stipulation is there a stipulation in the deed anywhere to that effect?
Well, that
Yes.
was the question. Did we want to pursue a legal interpretation of the deed? I believe there is. Whether or not we're committed to it or not would be up to Mary Claire to review and decide.
I remember several years ago, we went through this when someone wanted to acquire so many feet into the park, and we could not there was no way we could do it. We had to keep it as a recreational park. So I really don't think pursuing it any further is going to change anything. It is what it is, and I think we have to stand by that. And is there any other council members that have any questions on it that feel that we should move in a different direction?
You just answered my question, Jerry. It is used by the neighborhood.
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
then I'm in
I can tell you
agreement.
it is.
Yeah,
I would say even if we could get out of the requirements, use it for recreational space, I would be opposed to selling.
yeah. Exactly. I mean, I see it on a daily basis. There's always kids in the park on the swings, and they thanked us for putting the swings up there. So it's getting a lot more use than it ever did, and we have the gazebo there. So I think it's a nice park, and we should let it stand as a park and just
And it's
move
right,
forward.
right down from Grandview Street. Am I thinking of the
Right.
correct spot? Okay. I am
Yeah.
familiar with that area. Okay.
Okay, thank you. So I think that should resolve that, Virginia. We'll just have to let them know that when we acquired the land, that it is for recreational and we can't go back on our agreement. And the next is Valerie Clark.
Yes, you've all seen her request, and you've seen the email from the chief who requested that we not discuss the case as it is not closed. But her email to you is simply, she would like to have the $104 that she owes for the sewer waived. So the question is, do we want to pursue that or not?
I think this is not a good idea because according to the emails that we received thus far concerning this, there has not been any loss of funds on either way. If we let this go by, then we will be losing the funds. And I feel that there's no reason that we should be losing the funds because we provided the service. It's not, I can't see where it's our responsibility that things turned out the way that they did because of someone else's misfortune. We've let them go for other reasons. However, I don't feel that this is a specific enough reason to let it go by. And I would hate to start a new precedent that someone says this happened or that happened. Without getting into too far, everybody knows the situation. I just don't think it's a good idea. I'm not in favor of it.
I would like to have Jennifer give us the information that she feels on this because of what the situation was.
Jerry, this is where I said I thought we should go into executive session. That
Right,
way we
Jen-
could, we
We
could
can't
have an
discuss
open,
this on the record.
I'm sorry?
But it's still, excuse me, this is the mayor. It's
Yeah,
still
go
an
ahead.
open case. It's still an open case and we should
Correct.
not be discussing this at a general meeting.
That's
Right.
correct.
Still an open
Right.
case.
That's why
An
the issue
alternative
is
to,
specifically, do we want to waive $104 or not? And that we can discuss whether we want to waive it or not.
No,
If you
I don't want to
think
waive it.
I would think we should table this until it totally gets resolved. And then we can make a fair decision on it.
I have a
So
quick,
do-
I mean, to our solicitor, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I was
Go
just gonna ask, do we have to wait for the investigation to be resolved before we can even determine if we're willing to waive the fee or not?
well, if we waive the fee, we're never gonna get it back.
Right, so my vote was to just not waive the fee, even though the investigation is still pending.
Well,
want
Right.
to make that a
that's
motion,
what I said.
Right, I was agreeing with what Dave said. Do we need a motion for it, or are we still waiting, was my question.
We
well,
can make
if
the
we have a
motion.
motion in a second, we have to vote.
Okay, Dave,
But
did you want to make
Virginia-
the motion and I'll second it?
Go ahead,
Virginia,
you
can
make
this
it.
be
I'll second it.
tabled until
It could be tabled if council agrees to table it, but if you have a motion and a second, then it has to be voted on. So it's what you know, how you guys want to handle this.
I have a quick question for our solicitor. though.
Okay,
So if there's a
Sure.
pending criminal investigation right now, hypothetically, without using any names or anything like that, if there is a conviction or somebody pleads guilty, like then there's potential for reimbursement, restitution and stuff like that. So we could kind of wait and see what happens. Would that be?
Right. That's my thoughts too.
I agree.
it's something I was going to suggest also as an alternative to an executive session. If anyone on council has questions, you could direct them directly to me and then I could speak with the chief and then discuss any of that with you,
Okay.
because it is, again, there's a criminal component. I don't know if it falls squarely within something that you would discuss in executive session, but I'm happy to do that. And I could kind of be the in-between between any of your questions and the chief. I don't know that anything prevents you from making a decision now. The question is whether or not you want to wait for it to be completed. It's still very early in the investigation. So you might want to give it more time if that's the decision. Or if you wanted to tonight, I think you could. But it's whatever's deemed most appropriate.
is your
Yeah.
advice, Mary Claire, to just wait until the criminal investigation is completed?
If there's questions about the potential consequences of that, then it may be best to wait.
So we could table this tonight, do you think, Mary Claire, and then? wait
Yes, we
for
could
the-
table it. Again, any questions could be forwarded to me. I could provide
Sure.
any
Okay.
information to you,
Okay.
then maybe make a decision once you have more information.
The
I-
I'll
amount
make a
is like-
motion
just
then that
like
we
a-
table this.
Okay, we'll take,
Okay, Ronnie seconds it.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. On the question? All
On the
in
question,
favor?
I'd like to make this, until we table it until the, April meeting. Because by that time, we should have some finality, the, April regular meeting. So that would be our
Okay.
first meeting in April. We should have some sort of a conclusion or at least a direction
I would think
better.
so, yeah,
on where we're going.
okay. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Favors have it 7-0.
Sorry,
Okay, Under executive sessions, we had none prior, none during, and none subsequent. Do we have any council members that would have anything that they would like to add to this meeting?
I would like to raise a question relating to how we're meeting next. I've seen some articles referencing and some other things that perhaps these virtual meetings are no longer permissible. Is that something, Mary Claire, what is your opinion on that? Do we have the option to continue to meet virtually at this point, or should we not be?
Well, I mean, we're in a situation where the law hasn't really caught up with the circumstances or the technology, quite frankly, in terms of speaking directly to Zoom. We're not in a state of emergency, but I think the question is, are we giving people a way to participate in a meaningful manner? Are we providing notice? Are we giving them the ability to observe this? I think as long as we're doing that, then it's defensible if it's something that council believes is in the best interest of the community.
My suggestion would be maybe we do a hybrid. Because if there's this question about the Sunshine Act and allowing people to participate, to ask questions, to be at the meetings. And obviously, we are in the middle of a pandemic here. So maybe if we had the meetings at the council chamber, if any residents or anyone wanted to come and participate, they could see the meeting, but allow council members and people to do it virtually, since we do have the ability to do that, I believe, Virginia. I don't know if that's something we can do. And that would kind of protect us on both ends, so that everybody who, doesn't, people who feel comfortable doing it virtually would be allowed to do that and be comfortable. But at the same time, we wouldn't have any sunshine acts if anybody thought that they were not being precluded from participating or asking questions, or any residents or anything like that.
My only concern with hybrid is that if we do hybrid, Virginia does have to be in chambers, correct?
Correct.
Are you comfortable with that?
Or could she be?
I've been doing it for 17 years.
I think that there is, what I have seen written is that there is some question about whether or not these Zoom meetings at this point are in violation of the Sunshine Act. So I think I'm heartened to hear, Mary Claire, that your opinion is that it would be defensible, but I also think that, if we can do a hybrid meeting and a month from now, I think, things are trending down a little bit. We're probably in a better place than we have been for the last few weeks here. I think hybrid would make sense.
Josh, in what way are you saying that there's an issue with the Sunshine Act?
There was an article in the paper. I don't remember the actual. It was Barry talking about Barry Lee. It was at the very end of an article.
Yeah, Dave, I forgot you've been out in Florida, but the county commissioners have been doing all their meetings virtually, and I guess some watchdog group, public advocates like Sunshine Act said that they're in violation of the Sunshine Act, and that virtual meetings are not allowable. Now, I don't know if I'll defer to our solicitor, but that was the gist of the article, was that the county was in violation of the Sunshine Act by doing all these virtual meetings.
And I did see that too.
I find that, excuse me, Mary Claire, I find that very hard to believe, simply because the majority of people are being more careful, not less careful, and therefore they're having more Zoom meetings rather than less Zoom meetings. And I just find that ironic that someone would, have the nerve to say that. It sounds purely political to me. However, I don't know the particulars about it.
And that may have been a politically motivated comment. I don't know. I think what most communities have found actually is that more of their residents are actually engaged in their meetings with them being offered the way they are. But that doesn't really make the difference with whether or not it's permissible. So at the moment, when we're not in a state of emergency, this is not specifically provided for as a forum. So I think the question always is, can you defend it in the spirit of the Sunshine Act? Yes, I think right now we're on YouTube. We allow people to submit questions. So we are trying to engage people in a way that's both safe and allow public participation. I think Bob's suggestion is probably a prudent one to at least attempt. And again, now we'll be getting into the spring. Our numbers are going down. To offer something in person is it is the safer approach. I can say that.
Okay.
So right now is the safer approach just to continue at least until the end of this month virtual and then discuss going hybrid for March.
That's
Right.
where we had left it.
Right.
We were going to do the work session virtual, and we were going to discuss at the work session whether we were going to go
Right.
hybrid or not.
Okay.
I'm comfortable with that. I feel like we did the right decision with what the numbers were in our area to play
Yeah.
it safe. And hopefully in the next few weeks, we'll see better numbers. So
I
I'd be
think all-
okay with that.
I think all in all, our decisions on how we've had our meetings have been, pretty much right on target, because the people who have had issues or had questions were able to go on Zoom, and those who felt they were comfortable going to a meeting were still able to go to a meeting. Right now, it's more prudent, especially with the weather and the weather conditions. It's certainly more prudent to meet the way that we're doing right now, because number one, nobody wants to be out trying to slip and slide in 0-degree weather with the approaching snowstorms and everything like that. So it's definitely in the right interest of our well-being and safety, as well as the residents who may even have thoughts about coming to a meeting with an issue, because they can just phone it into Virginia and they can appear virtually on the screen the same that everybody else is doing. So I think it's beneficial both ways. And I really feel that, we can go to March. Maybe there'll be a little break in the storm.
Sure. Okay.
All right,
Okay.
so virtual for the work session. We
Correct.
will discuss hybrid for the March
March.
meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
That's good. And also, I just wanted to give a report on our ice festival. We did very, very well with it this year. And our hats go off to Kathleen. She came over Sunday and she had her daughter Posey. So she was working inside and I was working outside. And I just wanted to let any council members know, we do have extra chili and chicken noodle soup, so you can get in touch with me and we'll be more than happy to sell it to you. The more money that we raise, the more for our Christmas lights. So anybody, and I know, Dave, you're not going to be able to get the chili and chicken noodle soup down in Florida.
Well, my heart's in the right place, Jerry.
I can put it in the freezer for you, though.
And Posey sold the winning ticket. She sold that ticket to Janine
Oh,
Ford.
she did.
So I'll have to tell
Oh.
her, yes.
Let her, you said she always had good luck there, so
She's a mover and shaker, yes.
good. Oh, that's, and it was great that it was someone in our borough that won it, so. And my donation also was the big gorilla that was in the middle of the basket, so. The gorilla is gone from my home and I got over my tears.
Well, Posey
Glad to see
suggested,
it go.
Posey suggested they should do an ice sculpture of Jerry Carey, and I thought that was a great idea.
Well, they'd have to slow it down a little bit, that's all. But thank you, Kathleen.
You're welcome.
So again, everything went well. The gathering place did very well. They sold all theirs. And so consequently, the town was filled, the parade was great, and everything worked out very, very well. So
Great.
we'll keep
Great.
moving forward. And I thank everybody for all the good help. Okay, do we have a
Motion to
motion
adjourn?
to adjourn?
So
I'll
moved.
motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thank you, Kathleen.
All right. Good night, guys.
Good night,
All right,
everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Safe.
Good night.
Bye now.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good luck going home, Mary Claire.
Well, thank you. Have a good
Okay.
one. See you
Bye.
soon.
Good luck when you
Bye.
get home, Mary Claire.
That's exactly right.
Bye-bye.